only the really great leaders don't have to deal with this. And when the salesman walks by giggling, laughing, having a soda in his hands, and he just walks back and sits at his desk, the production guy goes, God, that doesn't do anything. Then sales says, hey, you got to get this done the next week. Production's like, I'm not working overtime for you. And it starts to become a war, production versus sales. All right, how's everybody doing on this beautiful day? Tell you what, we have been getting some rain and it is needed. Talk about being in a desert. Normally we get rain October, November, December, a little bit of January. It's kind of off, but man, we haven't gotten anything till February. So happy with the rain, happy to get all the plants and everything green again. Us desert climates, what? We get 2 months, 3 months of greenery. Then after that, it's just brown. Let's see what happened last week. I turned 46. I tell you what, when you hear the word 46, it doesn't feel like you're that old. But in fact, you think you're still trying to figure out life. But being in the signage industry since I've been 5 and 6 and listening to my dad tell stories and growing up and, tying neon on glass stands and everything else, I've been in this industry for a very, very long time. I feel like I've been in it forever, but I guess it's all perspective. All right. I want to dive into this on this one because this is one that historically comes up and it comes up in every sign company every once in a while, and only the really great leaders don't have to deal with this. And what it is the ever fight of production versus sales. That is, the fight of fights. Let me tell you how most companies get here, and I'll tell you from my experience as well. Number one, sales are leaders. They lead people into talking. They lead somebody into signing on a dotted line. Their job is to make sure that a deal is made. The only way you're going to make a deal is to take charge of the situation. You don't just stand there with a blank piece of paper and hand it to somebody they magically sign. They have to know what they're signing, so the salesperson has to lead. If you do not have a strong owner or a strong manager in your sign company, your sales team are going to take over. It's biblical. Across all sign companies, across all time, I see it all everywhere. If you do not have a strong presence, your salespeople are going to take over. It's their nature. It's what they do. I can't fault them. It's the frog and the scorpion. The scorpion stings him. He goes, why? He goes, that's what I do. It's just a salesperson. So what happens is the sales starts making little tiny deals to their other employees. Bring pizza in for the designers, or they stay for lunch and work on a couple of the salesperson's projects, slip them a $20 bill, $6-pack of beer, anything that they can do to get a little edge and get their drawings done, or they have to talk to the estimator to get it done. They know they can only ring that bell so many times if this is a rush, help me. So they're going to work the system. Then when it gets out to the shop, they're going to walk out there and slip everybody $10, $20, say, hey, work on my project first. They're going to manipulate. Then the worst part is all the guys on the hot summer days are sweating. They're not feeling good out in the shop. They're bending metal letters. And then the salesman walks by giggling, laughing, having a soda in his hands, and he just walks back and sits at his desk. The production guy goes, God, that doesn't do anything. And then people find out that salespeople get paid commissions, or the salespeople get commissions. And now the metal guys and the guys on the floor are super pissed. They're like, you don't do anything. You just walk around this place. You don't do crap. And all of a sudden you're getting paid all this money, blah, blah, blah. And it starts to become a war. Production versus sales. Then sales says, hey, you got to get this done the next week. Production's like, I'm not working overtime for you. And the war just continues and continues. It's brutal. And it rips sign companies apart. I just did consulting last week. Went up to a sign company, very old, very large sign company. When I say large, over 50 employees, over 50 years old. And as I go back in there, we did a reboot. So I always go in there with a reboot. And the first thing I ask is, what's broken? What doesn't work? What organization problems do we have? Forget about the software for a little bit. What's going on? And I let everybody vent. And when I find that when you have someone listen to you, your blood pressure goes down. I go home and vent to my wife about things that happen and my blood pressure goes down. I get it. So the more I let people vent, the more they're going to calm down. They're going to be on point and they're going to listen to me. So that's my first thing I always do, go in there and vent. And I heard somebody go, well, we didn't know that production didn't build the letters correctly. Nobody told us. And I was like, okay, there's more to this. And the salesperson started complaining production built the wrong set of letters, went all the way through the entire shop, realized their mistake at the very end, had to rebuild a set of letters so they missed an opening date. Never told the salesperson. Salesperson's client calls screaming at him because they opened their doors without a sign. Salesperson goes, why didn't you inform me? And then production goes, well, we had problems. We had a disconnect. We had something. And then production started lying to sales. And as I'm hearing the story, I'm laughing. I'm like, you have a problem. Sales versus production. You guys aren't a unified team. Just want to take a moment to talk about SquareCoil here. SquareCoil has been powering the signage industry since 2011, and we're only growing bigger and better and stronger every single day. Some of the latest updates have just made my life a lot easier. I'm sure it's going to make your life a lot easier. So if you haven't checked us out, go ahead and get on our website, squarecoil.com. Take a look. And if you have an outdated key, an old software program that's going to be closing its doors this year, definitely take a look at us because we can make that transition real simple for you. Take a look, squarecoil.com. And I always blame ownership. Every single time. It's what I do. And I'm never wrong. It's always ownership that doesn't have the lead. They're not having a command presence. And if you don't have a command presence, somebody is going to have that command presence. Let me backtrack. Let me talk about the first mountain that I had to conquer when I became vice president or sales manager at Integrated Signs. I was 28 years old. We had a sales rep that was in his 50s, sales rep in his late 40s, and a sales rep in his early 60s, and one in his late 60s. We had 4 guys. We had a lady, I want to say she was in late 30s, early 40s, really don't remember. And I was the only one that had the time, effort, energy to want to corral all 5 of these. And I knew the first thing I had to do was make sure that my team talked the same language, because we all had a different vocabulary. So everybody on the floor, when they saw the shop orders go through the shop, they ought to have a decoder ring on to try and figure out what order was what. It was ridiculous. So what we ended up doing was trying to get everybody on the same page. As we started to get people on the same page, Kevin's like, well, I'll get that try in a couple hours. And I pull up the design queue, and I'm like, you just wrote that today? He goes, yeah, but Tony's working on it, it's fine. So I started going back to Tony, my designer, and go, hey, why are you working on it? He goes, oh, well, Kevin said he needed it. It had to be right now. I'm like, really? That doesn't seem odd to me. Turns out Kevin was slipping $20 bills and 6 packs of beer to our lead designer to get them done. So I told Kevin, can't do that anymore. He goes, why not? It's my money. I can do what I want with it. I said, no, you're upending the company. Me and Kevin had a silent, Cold War for, I'd say, a couple of months and whatnot. And he ended up moving on. He went to another sign company and left because his little tricks didn't work. And he was so used to his tricks that he just couldn't fathom going through the process on his own. So one sales guy down. Then the rest of the salespeople, not so bad. They kind of got in line. We dialed it in. I was not nearly over the top of my way highway that I am today. I understand the reason for the black and white. So I was very much in the shade of gray. I'm like, well, let's work together. Let's try and figure it out. And because I did not have a command presence, it took me almost 3 years to get sales versus production to all put their swords down and play nice together. Very difficult to do. Was not the easiest thing. During those 3 years, I ended up firing a painter because he was cranky and brought down the mood. I ended up firing 2 installers because they just always complained. The signs were never right. They didn't have the right attachments on the trucks. It was their job to load the trucks, but that didn't stop them from complaining. And there's just the attitude was it was brutal. It was demoralizing the whole rest of the company. No matter how hard everybody worked, the negativity after a while just grinds. So I let them go. And these were some good employees in the way of skill sets, not attitude, skill sets. And I decided that I'd rather have better attitude than skill sets. I'm sorry, but I wasn't going to have a bunch of all-stars that didn't play well with others. So we started firing people. And, my dad had the company at the time. I was just VP. So I go to dad and say, hey, I got to let this person go. And dad's like, no, there's no way. And he was very scared of change. Then when it was good quality skill sets, because you can't teach that knowledge and that experience. They got 15 years in the signage experience. You can't just let that go. And I said, they're bad apples. And dad and I would go to war about it and fight about it. And 4 months later, this person would keep creating ways. And finally we say, okay, let's let them go. In hindsight, and now that I've had the gift of over being 20 years in this industry and seen multiple sign companies run and been consulting on multiple sign companies, I'm going to tell you right now, you as an owner have to have a command presence over your sales team and over everybody else. If you don't have a command presence, please don't be the president of the company, the face of it. Be the owner. Be off to the side. Hire somebody that's going to have that command presence. Number 2, make sure that as soon as something goes wrong in the shop, sales knows about it immediately. We're not tattling. We're all on the same team. Think about if we're a football team and someone misses the catch. The whole team needs to know he missed the catch so we can reconvene and figure out another play. You don't pretend he made the catch and continue on, right? Nope, you go right back to the huddle. Same with your organization. As soon as somebody screws up, let the whole team know so we all can fix it. I'm not in the blame game. I don't care about the mistake. I care how the mistake was made if we can fix it. And I very much care how we're going to fix the mistake so the project can move on. But placing blame is not for me. I don't care. It's not important to me. We all make mistakes. We're human. Then, whenever sales screwed up and had a rush order, we let everybody know. Hey, sales, I dropped the ball. This was in my inbox for a week and a half before I got to it, and therefore was a rush because of me. It's my fault. And I make sure the salespeople own that. That's their job. They drop the ball, they own it. Just like they make my guys on the floor own it, they got to own it. The only way that we're all going to work as a team is if we all admit our defeats, and then we all celebrate our wins together. When we have a good core, what do? We have profit sharing. I do for my company, I have profit sharing. We have Bay Day. We all set down the bay and we barbecue and we hang out for the day, where everybody has no hierarchy. There's no work related. We just say, hey, we happen to be going down this place and we all happen to work together, but we do not have it be a company function. You don't have to go. Just go hang out, enjoy. 80% of my company does. It's great. It's a blast. I am the one that ends up barbecuing. I'm happy with that. It's great. We had another owner. I love this. I thought it was the coolest thing. I've yet to do it, and I've known about it for like 7 years now. Whenever there's a really big movie coming out, he buys the entire movie theater out for that one showing. And he says, bring all your friends, bring your group, the family, anybody you want. I'll walk in there. I'll hand out the tickets to you. And that's going to be our show. How cool is that? I'll go see a movie together and see it. And I think he rented out for Top Gun. He rented out for Star Wars. That was a genius idea. Those are the camaraderie that you're looking for inside your sign company. That's the team that you want. You want the things where you laugh at the mistakes, you all dogpile on them to fix them, move on with it, and no one is in the wrong. No one's to blame. I don't think anybody should be covering their six or pretending or be fearful of their job and the repercussions that happen. Just work together as a team. I'm going to get more mileage and more attaboys and more accolades out of my company when nobody's fearful to step up when they made a mistake. That's it. It's really simple. And I do not have a sales versus production problem. Not at all. Because we all work together. And anybody that comes in the company and starts complaining, they're fired. 100% fired in a heartbeat. If you can't get along with the team, if you're making waves just to be cranky, you're fired. I don't care how good you are. That's not how we're going to fly. An average team that all pulls their weight is going to go so much farther than a company that has 2 or 3 all-stars. So sales versus production, you're going to see it in every signing company where you don't have a command presence leader. You're going to see it where people are trying to figure out who's the boss, what's happening. And when they don't have a clear leader and a clear vision, chaos will ensue. Hope you guys don't have that problem in your sign shop. And if you do, nip it in the bud as fast as possible, because it is a cancer. And the faster you get rid of that cancer, the more everybody's happy. Talk to you next week.